Welcome to another episode of the Schloegel Design Remodel podcast. Today, I have Lindsay Brungardt with me of Schloegel Design Remodel. She is a designer here, and I'm excited to, dig in a little and ask some questions about what's going on in remodeling. Lindsay, welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Everyone loves podcasting. Okay, so we're going to start with some really hard questions.
Okay.
How did you get into design?
Well, it's always been something I've been interested in since I was a kid, but I really didn't discover it as a career until I was in college and I went to a career fair that they had, and that's when I really discovered it. And I saw some of the plans that the students had been doing and some rendering they had been doing, and I just fell in love. So
Have never looked back.
Have never looked back.
Were you like me and you watched Paige Davis on Trading Spaces and you were like, I want to do that?
Yeah, some of the stuff they did, I didn't necessarily want to do.
Oh my gosh, right? Some of those homes you were like, no, don't.
Yeah.
Oh, they did it.
But I did watch the show, yes.
Okay, so what do you love? What do you love the most about working in design?
Oh, I love the creative aspect of it, of course, and I love getting to meet so many people, so many fun people, different people, cool people.
Cool people.
Like cool people. Who doesn't love cool people?
I like cool people.
And I love that every project I work on, every client I have, every day I work is different. So I love the variety.
Spice of life.
Yes.
Do you have any rules or things that you make sure you apply to everything that you work on? Like, is there a Lindsay trademark in your design?
Not necessarily. There's definitely guidelines I would say that I have in my head anytime I'm working with somebody. I really try to take inspiration from the client, but sometimes there isn't any, or the client doesn't have something in mind already. So I always try to pull from the architectural style of the house, or, having the same element in different parts of the room to kind of tie things together. So loose guidelines, I would say.
Yeah. Depending on situation.
Yeah.
So have you seen any shifts in design requests or types of design since COVID? Because I feel like that changed things a little for homeowners.
It did, yeah. I feel like people are looking for workspaces in their house now. A lot more basements because they need somewhere to get away maybe and work, whereas maybe they weren't working from home before COVID. A lot of attic finishes, which again, I think people are looking for more space to kind of get away from everything else going on in the house. So
yeah, and I feel like there's this shortage of homes, so people are also not looking to buy, and now interest rates, so they're not looking to move. So they're like, how do we make the most out of this house?
What we have.
So attics, basements, nooks,
absolutely,
crannies.
Where they say if we could just have a space to put my desk, then this house would be perfect.
Speaking of multi-purpose space, how the heck do you design for a multi-purpose space? I know I'm thinking of one project where you created in an alcove a little desk, but it's also a beverage bar.
Yes, and yeah, that happens a lot. Using a space for different purposes at different times, making the space versatile with cabinetry that can be used in different ways, or maybe it's not a desk, but it's a landing zone for a computer. Thinking of ways that you can use the space in different situations, for sure.
What kind of questions do you ask to get those ideas out of a client? Because sometimes I have to imagine they don't even know what their own needs are. Like there's this room and they're like, well, we need, but how do you drill down? Like find the actual needs?
Well, that's just it. You have to ask lots of questions. What are you doing during the day? Where are you working? Would you use a laptop? Do you move around during the day? Would this be of any use to you as this use of a space? Or I see there's lots of papers sitting here on the counter. Do you need a spot to put those?
What? So no one has that.
Yeah.
No one has papers stacked up.
I know. I definitely don't.
No, for sure. I don't. My house is perfect.
Yeah. So it's seeing the things I think that clients don't necessarily know that can be changed, or there could be a different way to store things, or so I had lots of questions, and then just from experience seeing things that could be improved, I think.
What about, so like you said, do you use a laptop versus standard PC? How do you hide all the cords? How do you handle all that in your design? What do you plan for?
You have to make sure you're planning for that from the very beginning. So you have plenty of outlets, first of all, so you don't have cords running across the room or a long way. So you have to make sure you're planning from the very beginning, and then we can always do holes in the countertop to put your cords through. We could always put things behind doors, so you open the doors and then you see your countertop appliances or your computer or whatever it may be. So just making sure that you know from the very beginning what needs you're gonna have.
And how do you decide to do a built-in shelf or desk versus a furniture piece? Is that a conversation that comes up around a lot with clients?
It is, yes. And really it's just what the client prefers looks wise. Do they like the look of a freestanding desk, or do they want something more built in? Yeah, that's a lot of that is driven by the client for sure.
How about multi-purpose rooms with children involved?
There's going to be toys everywhere, and everything
Art
will always
supplies.
be a mess. Yeah.
Art supplies in every nook and crevice and couch cushion.
Yes. Absolutely. If you know that there are children involved, then definitely lots of storage is always key. Lots of baskets, doors to hide things. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I need more of that.
I do
at my
too,
house.
yeah.
I feel like I have some, but yet it still keeps happening.
Yeah, oh yeah.
When do they grow out of that?
I think we've got a few years to go.
For reference, my children are 11 and 8, and the art supplies are going strong.
Mine are 9 and 5, and yeah, I've got a little bit farther to go than you.
You don't ever wish them out of the house. You just wish them to put their stuff away.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I don't. Yeah.
This is a design podcast, not a parenting podcast.
Well, I think we can make it whatever we want.
Okay.
I'm sure our listeners are like, yep, totally relate, or, haha, that's funny, my kids are out of the house. And I don't have to deal with that. Okay, so back to questions. Do you ever see things that clients need and they don't know they need, and how do you get them there? Like, how do you make them understand? Because it costs a lot to do things, and to get them on the page of, okay, but I see that you have a need for this built-in structure, or this room, I know you think you want it to do this, but what you really need is this.
Yes. Usually clients who don't have a design architecture background are thinking of, or trying to think of a way that they could improve their space, and they usually kind of have blinders on just because they don't have the experience to know any other way, so they're thinking of one way. And our job is to come in and really observe and listen to them, and if we have another suggestion for how something could work better, or how maybe they think they need an addition because they need more space, but if we use the room more functionally, or if we lay the space out more functionally, they don't need that addition. So and normally when you tell them that, it's kind of like a light bulb, like, oh yeah, you're right.
Well, and then you also maybe tell them how much an addition costs.
Right,
and
exactly.
They're like, oh yeah, we don't need that.
Exactly.
We could do this. In some instances, you need the addition.
Yes, sometimes, but sometimes you don't. If just what you have is more functional and you have more of those spaces, like a lot of kitchens were taking out the desks because they just become a drop zone for
The papers we
for
talked
junk.
about earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you take that space and use it more functionally, then maybe that doesn't equate necessarily to an addition, but just a small example of using the space more functionally. Then
How many kitchens have desks in them that you take out? And why was that
almost
a thing in the
all
90s?
of them. I know. I don't know. That's kind of like carpet in bathrooms. I really don't know why people ever did that. I guess the thinking was maybe sit there and pay bills, but
it's so funny. They thought, because in the 90s,
definitely
computers really were just becoming a thing,
yeah.
right? Like household computers. And if someone was like, let's put a desk right next to your fridge or your microwave, and you're going to want to sit there and work all night.
Right. I know.
And now literally you're like, it's just, it's where everyone's
a junk collector.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And there are some people that they literally use a desk in their kitchen, but there's not as many.
No. I mean, nobody pays bills the way they used to. And I remember my mom sitting down at the kitchen table with the stack of bills.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the projects that you've recently completed or currently working on. I can think of several multifunctional spaces you've done, but also just what's going on out there in design. So I don't know if you have one you want to start, or you want me to throw one out there?
Throw one out there.
Okay, so I'm thinking of one that you literally turned a space into a desk, a mudroom, and a pantry.
Yes.
Oh, and a laundry room.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
So this client had grown up in this house. This was her childhood home, and she and her husband recently bought it. They have 3 kids that she homeschools. So there was a space in kind of right in the middle of their house where that was just kind of used as like a pantry. There were shelves, but they also had cat food and school supplies and just lots of a mishmash of different things in there. And they really wanted to turn it into a much more functional space where she could sit and plan her lessons for the kids, and then also store some pantry items and snacks for the kids that they could easily grab, and make sort of a mudroom area as well, because this is kind of adjacent to their garage space. So when they come in from the garage, they can go in here and drop their backpacks and shoes and coats and all of that. And then they also wanted to add a powder bath, so we took their laundry room, cut it in half, made half of it a powder bath, and half of it went into this new mudroom, laundry room desk space. And so, yes, there are like 10 different uses for this space.
But how did you make that work? Did you define each area, or how did you fit it in? Because you go in there and it's functional.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't necessarily divide it up with walls. There is a wall in the middle, kind of where the washer and dryer sit, but other than that, it's really just divided up with cabinetry. The front cabinets are the desk planning space, and then the cabinets on the long wall are the mudroom pantry kind of cabinet function, and then around the corner from the mudroom is the washer and dryer. So it was really just, we kind of took each function and put it in a different area of this open space through cabinetry.
And I also think the location of each makes sense, because you've got your laundry closer to the mudroom area, so you're containing the dirt in that area.
Yes.
And then the pantry's closer to the desk, so like you said, like snacks, and that's also just around the corner from the kitchen. So the layout makes it what's functional too.
Yeah, and the kids can go in there and just grab a snack really quick and not go all the way back to the washer dryer area, and so it works.
And I love the little design choices too. The wallpaper backsplash and it's super cute.
It is very
and the
cute.
tiny little cat door.
Yeah.
There's a cat door in the baseboard for the cat to get to the litter box.
Yes, of course.
Priorities. You don't want to see a litter box when you're doing laundry.
No.
So there's like one hidden function.
Yeah.
And how about the one, you did this whole wall of built-in shelves, and otherwise room with no built-ins. How did you plan for that? How did you accomplish storage in that? How did you make it look like it belonged there?
Yeah, well, I definitely had to start by asking questions. What kind of things are you going to want to store in this cabinetry? What do you not have room for right now that you wish you could put away? What are you going to be doing in this room? Do you want it to look like it blends in and was here from the very beginning, or do you want it to look like a really big new
furniture
furniture piece? So start by asking lots of questions, seeing exactly what it is they had. In this case, the clients are big piano players, so they had lots of piano books, music books, and just books in general that they wanted to, some of them they wanted to display, and some of them they wanted to hide away. So just seeing exactly what it was that they wanted to store and how they wanted to store it. And then in this case, they were really wanting it to be more of a built-in look, like it had been there from the very beginning. So we took inspiration from the rest of the house, the trim that they had in their house, which was pretty traditional, and we matched the color of the trim that they already had and painted the cabinets that color. It looks like the house was built with these shelves there.
It does, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And I loved, so we talked about that little desk / beverage bar, which is part of this project, right next to it. But I love that one's just a little bit more contemporary, but like a nod to the other one. I love that play on design.
It's the same style, but we went with black on that cabinetry, which I love black cabinetry. Not everybody does, but I do. And we went with black in that little nook area. It was a really weird little like pass through between this piano room and the kitchen, and so they were very like, I don't know what we do with this room. But when we started talking, we figured out that he really likes to have a space to kind of land for an hour or so during the day that's different from his regular desk space. So it was for him to land with his laptop, but there's also a beverage fridge down there, so if they're playing piano and have people over, they can go get a beverage from the beverage fridge, and it's just...
Their life sounds so much like
I know, right?
Listen to the piano.
I know.
Have a beverage.
With a beverage. Yeah, I know. And it's not my life. They do have kids, though, but I think their kids play piano, too, so...
And they're probably really good at it.
Yeah, I think so.
So are there any current things you're loving in design right now? Like, I hate saying the word trends because I feel like if you love something, it's not a trend, it's what you love.
Right.
But is there anything that you're seeing or doing that you think is amazing?
I love that stains are coming back a little bit more, especially in kitchens. We're seeing less of the white cabinetry, I think, and more of the stains, especially lighter colored stains. The blue is going out a little bit, I would say, but green is coming in, and I happen to love green. So I know you do too.
Yeah.
I know you do too.
Well, and I do think blue is a timeless color.
Yeah.
I mean, the world
it
around
is,
us.
Absolutely.
But,
and I do love blue too.
But we have seen a lot of blue, so it's fun to see a change up in color.
And I think that's what I enjoy really the most is the coming and going of different things. It's not the same all the time. I mean, white kitchens are a thing and still a thing. But
they'll always be a thing.
They will always be a thing, but there's this other color that's coming in now and warm wood tones, and so I love the change that happens throughout.
Yeah, otherwise it would get really boring.
Yeah,
it was all
absolutely
like in the back to the 90s.
Absolutely.
If every home you did had honey oak cabinet.
Yeah, I'm glad we've changed from that. From honey oak. Yeah,
shiny grass and honey oak. With
it'll probably come back
splash of maroon
sometime.
And some of it is coming back. I mean, we're putting brass and stuff. It's not the same brass.
Not
sometimes
quite the
it's
same.
Shiny.
Sometimes, yeah.
But even like maroons are making their way back in. It's crazy.
Know. And I think it's cool because it really does depend on what else you put with it, what the overall look becomes. Because just because you have a shiny brass fixture doesn't mean that you're going to walk in and say, oh my God, 90s or 80s.
So true.
I mean, it's the whole picture that makes the feeling or the look. So.
One of my favorite things that you've completed recently is that primary bathroom with the terracotta tiles.
Oh yeah.
I just love the like natural tones and colors.
That was really cool. Yeah. And that client had actually grown up in a Spanish style house, so she really wanted to bring a little bit of the Spanish flair to her bathroom, and I feel like we accomplished that pretty well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think you nailed it. I don't think you just accomplished it.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Why it's important to maybe work with a designer or things to consider. It costs a lot of money to do it right.
It does cost a lot of money, but I think the experience that you get when you do it right is worth so much more, just because remodeling can go so many different ways. And we know, because we've heard the stories from people. People have had horrible experiences, and then they've had really, really great experiences too. And so it's important to think about exactly who you're working with when you get into a remodeling project, especially when it's a really big project like an addition or a whole house or something like that. So
do your research.
Yes, absolutely.
Do your research before you make the spend so that your home, the project you do, will last for as long as you want it to.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, Lindsay, thank you for sitting in this small, echoey office with me today.
Of course.
And listening to vacuum cleaners and laughter and sharing some of your design wisdom.
Absolutely. It was fun.
All right. Thanks.
You're welcome.